again, last time we spoke about when I was on the platform, and I have received some questions and some directions as which way to go as far as the protection of families, in addition to just taking care of your last needs and per se, which is your will or how you want everything to proceed after your death. But Bishop mentioned something very important today. He talked about living. And so, we do want to take care of our beneficiaries, but we do want to have joy in our life as well. One of the things that I've seen in the area of years that I've been in finances that I've been working with New York Life, and we as a people, it's not the fact that we may be depleted in certain areas. It's just the utilization and executing proper planning to put you in a better position. And I want to encourage today, if you have any questions, you may answer. If we have you can answer them. Have me to answer them during this time, or we can schedule a separate time for us to talk. Do I have permission to share my screen, Bishop?
What happened?
Do I have permission to share my screen?
I say yes. Let me tell our technicians there to give Dr. Mills permission to share the screen, please.
Thank you.
All right. Do you have it now?
I do.
Okay,
I do.
good. Very good.
All right. So basically today we're going to be talking about, I want to briefly say last time we talked about understanding your contract. And the purpose of that particular information was to know, for you to know about what you currently have in place. What do you have in place? Is it going to work for you? Is it something that your needs, is it fulfilling your needs? Is it going to fulfill your last wishes? And we talked about to make sure that there'll be no surprises in the event of your passing away, what that contract looks like. That means the details of what would be the payout of your insurance policies, or is it cash value policy? Is it a term policy? Just all that type of information. But I want to strictly, I really want to really focus today on the creating the wealth portions. And I'll hint on the previous stage, and I'll go back and just mention as I proceed. So we're going to talk about creating wealth in families, businesses, and organizations. Many of my clients, I help on individual base. I deal with a lot of small businesses, structuring plans for them, and also organizations. I talk to them about ways they can be able to set some wishes in place right now in order to help the organizations that they maybe want to be a part of and leaving legacies. So one of the things that I think is very important when we're talking about putting you in a better position than what you may be, or it may be going good for you, is just understanding the stages of financial planning. So when I talk about the 4 stages of financial planning, I'm talking about income per replacement. That was what I was talking about, the insurance policy. It can be in the form of, you have, like in the event that you pass away, your family will receive that. In addition to, if I live, for those who are in their working years, do I have proper disability insurance? That's something else that people are concerned about. If I was to become sick today, will my income be replaced? Long-term care, I am getting an increase in people inquiring to me about long-term care, because that is a whole different conversation within itself about spending down your current assets because you have not properly planned for an event that you were to get sick. Because we have to remember, as we age, our bodies are not what they used to be. And that entails about depleting your monies, paying for someone. Either way, it's just a conversation within that self, and be prepared for it. Wealth accumulation pieces. I know I hear people all the time talk about life insurance policy with cash value. That is very important, and it takes commitment to do that. It's versus you renting a house versus buying. So that's the concept that we talk about with lifetime streams of income as well. Are you going to put money down to have investments into your monies to make it grow? There's many different diversifications to do that. And also, people are concerned about estate planning. So the key to moving it from what you desire to actually implement it is talking about the wealth accumulation piece, making sure that you are generating cash if you were to live as well. And so what I mean by that is that there's going to be some phases that I pull as far as wealth accumulation. It's going to start about Wealth accumulation, then you're preserving it and you're distributing it. That can take place in your lifespan. And also addition about wealth accumulation strategies. I want to stress this more than anything. It is okay for you not to understand all the different various instruments out there for wealth accumulation pieces. That's why you have advisors and planners such as myself to speak with you, to provide an avenue to the direction and also fulfill those goals that you are wanting to do. So when we're talking about financial wealth accumulation pieces, it can come in the form of cash value policies. You can have whole life policies. You can have strategies that allow you to be in the market and still have life insurance. You can have many different ways for you to be able to access money while you're living and also have it protected and also grow tax deferred. Many ways that you can do that in those that are still in their working years. You may have a 401k on your job. One thing that I noticed that when I did my portfolio on my job, I had someone to advise me because I was in the field. I did not know what sector to put as far as my risk tolerance. That's very key. Understanding your risk tolerance. Are you aggressive? Are you mild? Are you conservative? All of that plays a piece in how you want to structure to get your wealth accumulation pieces. You have forms of annuities that are not in the market, and then there are some that just have a fixed amount, that percentage that you'll receive. Mutual funds, you can have brokerages accounts to yield, to keep up with inflation, and that's what mutual funds do. Even your 401k plans, SEPs, all those different type of instruments to have for retirement, they are normally in the market, and it's designed to keep up with inflation. It's designed to keep up with the mobility of how things are trending in our economy. ETFs, people talk about ETFs. It's like a stock. You can trade it throughout the day. Just some information on that about how you may want to be able to put that in your portfolio. Stocks, REITs, real estate, private placements, and options. Those are various ways that you can build your cash accumulation pieces. But I want to stress this today. I hear a lot of people that will make statements to me about, I want to invest in stock. I want to be able to do that. That's a beautiful thing to do. But I want to just really, really say this afternoon rather. You have to make sure that you're covering your risk on your life as well. Bitcoin is not for you to leave your family to cover your debt. You see art pieces, they have their proper places in your portfolio. And the reason why I'm saying it, because I actually experience and hear people coming to me about different ways to do their planning. It is important for you to have basic life insurance and know your capital, your human capital worth, that if you don't come home tonight, your family will receive monies that are not taxed by the government at this present time. It's a death benefit that's just straight given to them. And then if you have monies into annuities, you have beneficiaries that can receive that as well. So there's different ways for you to structure your planning. And this is very important to know that there's nothing wrong with diversification of your portfolio, but make sure that it has a foundation, and life insurance will be your basic foundation as far as to put your family in a better position than just a stock that will be traded for what the value is at that time. You also have options, which is basically, you probably heard about that. It's another way to make money. It's a sophisticated way, but I encourage you to also have a planner or advisor to help you do it on that realm. And that's nothing but basically insurance on the stock. So the question would be like, what, when, what, who, where, why? And the reason why I say individuals, businesses, and organization, because you have people into your organization or people that are important to even yourself that you may want to be able to structure some type of plan, whether they live or they die. I have grandparents that will like to put something for their grandkids, and it's so important that if you have grandkids, to go ahead and get them insured at a younger age. It gives them time to have a better time horizon, so they can be able to, if anything corrects in the market, the monies will not affect them to a great degree as we age. It's very important to understand your time horizons. What you can do in the age of 20 versus when you're 40 or 60 is quite different, because your time horizon plays a part in that. Because if the market corrects, if you're in the market, you have time to adjust. You have time to make that money back up. So you have to understand what is your purpose and what are you committed to. I would like to say, We will get around people that will talk about the way that they're doing their portfolio and what they have in place. I want to encourage you to look at your position and know what your goals are and to be realistic. And I'm quite sure that you've heard of the SMART goal. It has to make sense. It got to be specific about what you're doing. So the important piece is to move towards some solution. No matter where you feel that you may not can afford, do something that will put your family and yourself in a different position and to ease your mind. So accumulation is, you got to do it through planning, executing, and implementing. So first of all, it's okay if you don't understand all these different type of instruments to yield wealth, because you can contact the financial planner as myself, an advisor. I would like to say that from me, working with New York Life and billing stages to basic financial freedom, is that it has to make sense. You've got to trust your planner. It is imperative. Please be honest with them. If you feel that you have any type of health conditions that may limit their or possibly may not get insurance, please tell us, because we may have avenues that you're not abreast of that we can put you in to still begin to build wealth accumulation pieces. There are so many different strategies. So trust your planner. If you feel that you don't feel good with them, then don't go with that planner. You have to be honest, because you're going to have a evaluation where you're at. Your financial needs analysis is how we do it. We like to see where you're at, where you're trying to get to, and what makes sense at that time. Also, know your budget. Know your limitations. Know your time horizon, like I stated. I spoke with someone recently. They were very impressed with someone that was doing some type of financial diversification, but it didn't make sense to them. First of all, they were well advanced in their years. The person was younger who they were speaking to. We don't know what type of particular solution was in place through that advisor or that financial planner. So it has to be individualized. Make sure that it makes sense to you. And plus, be realistic and trust the process. Trust the process of what you're doing to do something to put yourself in a better position, and be committed to semi-annuals and also annual reviews. So when a financial planner calls you and say it's time for our 6-month annual review, it's time to look at what you have, it's important, because you would possibly have someone else that may come up to you and introduce you to a concept that doesn't know your goals. A financial person may haven't even looked at your goals. What's your budget? I don't know what their objective is, but it's important to talk to your financial planner about where you're at. What has changed since the last time we've spoken? Have there been an increase? Have there been a decrease in your monies? So that way you'll experience soundness and direction, because you have a commitment to your purpose. The question is, are you ready? Are you just saying that possibly, I know I need to do something? Because this is what I found out, even on a personal basis. When we don't have our goals in place and we don't have any type of track record of where we've been and where we're trying to get to, we'll get lost in what you want to do. And you'll find 6 months to a year later, you still haven't did it. And your health may be compromised at the time. You may not be able to get the same rating that you had before. Within a day, something can shift. So it's just imperative that you go ahead and initiate a process and begin to walk where you're saying, or running towards that direction, whatever you want to do, but it's about your commitment. So you can schedule a financial assessment with me. If something works for the client, I'm going to tell them to keep it. If it needs to be enhanced, I'm going to show you ways to do it. I will not undo what you've already done, if it makes sense. But I'm going to look at the gaps that need to be filled in, such as, let me give you an example. One of the problems that advisors had, it's not a problem with advisor, it was families had in the past, is that if grandmother worked all her life or granddad had monies, and it was actually had a financial advisor helping them, and they became sick, the monies that was built up throughout their lifespan went towards their care, and very little money was left to the beneficiaries. When I'm going to look at ways to stop a potential of your money decreasing and allow it to shield what you've already put in place. So it has to make sense. If it doesn't make sense, then we won't do it. We're going to be realistic about your budget, understanding that there are solutions in place, whether it's just to make sure that when you pass away, you have your wishes being executed. So I said, pretty much a lot today when it came to the steps and what's out there. And you can hear all kind of different type of ways to make money. And I want to also say today, whenever someone introduces you to something that is market based and they say there's a guarantee, I'm going to say this with emphasis, even though I might not raise my voice. There's no guarantee when it comes to market. We show you hypothetical illustrations that based on the previous year or what it performed. And normally, historically speaking, that market value, the market does, they're consistent. So it's no type of guarantees. Stocks are not guarantees. I always tell clients, basically, when it comes to stock investment, always have your insurance in place. Put you some permanent insurance in place that builds cash money while you're living. Then talk about doing all these stocks and stuff, because that's not going to secure your family if you pass away. So all these sophisticated ways that there's out there to do it, just make sure that it fits into your plan and that it makes sense and that you're sold on what you want to do. Because at the end of the day, when the month comes around, you don't want to be juggling, should you be taking care of what you said that you wanted to do. So I'm here to answer any type of questions that you may have, and I'm here to direct if you need that. And I want to thank you once again for allowing me to come on this platform, because I was really excited about this, because I'm hearing a lot of it in my business as it's growing, and people are concerned about their life. They're concerned about their legacies, but they are concerned about like living today, which Bishop have talked about as well. So thank you once again for allowing me to present to you, and I'm open for any questions that you may have.
All right. Thank you. Thank you so very, very much, Dr. Shannon Pickett. I think you heard a familiar theme, which we heard also with Dr. McMillan, that is having a goal. Having a goal. Where are you going? What are you trying to accomplish? And she has added another one today, to trust your financial advisor. She says another thing that's so important. Be careful how you swallow these terminologies. Mm-hmm. And someone tells you guarantee. She said to us today, which is the truth, there are no guarantees on planet Earth. Today things may be well, and by this evening, the bottom has fallen out. And tomorrow is a whole different world. So we want to thank her, but at this time, she's open for questions. She's here to answer questions. If you have one, please put it to her at this time.
I have one.
All right.
Good afternoon, Dr. Mills, Pickett Mills.
Good morning. Good afternoon.
When is the best time if you wanted to insure a child per se, at what age? Because some insurance companies, you can insure them, I know, but you're only limited to a certain amount because they're not breadwinners or things like that. So you may get $5,000 or $10,000 on them per se, and not a whole $1 million policy. But you want to put them at least at that age in a system, so as they get older, they can increase it because they're already on that track of having insurance, and to increase it as they get older.
Thank you, Mrs. Lartey. You just said something very important to me. I'm going to go back to the basic fundamentals of life insurance right on 101. You said something important, because when we talk about insurance companies, New York Life is on the Fortune 500, and the assets that we have are in the billions. We can be able to withstand the planning that of a client wanting to finance or just get their kids or grandkids in a position to be $1 million coverage. I have set up that before with the client. So most insurance companies that only will allow you to go to a certain threshold is because that may be their capacity. We don't have a problem with that. If it makes sense as far as the owner insuring that child, then we can allow you to fund it. So with New York Life, and I broker for other ones as well, but with New York Life, I know that we can put that in place for that client. as far as $1 million. What I do is normally to allow that client to, that child to make it to $1 million, I put riders on there as well. I put one called a protection, is an option rider that allows that child to have access to insurance at the age of 22 additionally. For 9 times out their lifespan to the age of 44, that I can put a certain amount on that they're going to be extra added to have more insurance if they desire, and continue to build their monies with no more blood work, no type of blood work, as because I did it when they was young. So if it makes sense as far as the payer and the person that's, or whoever's funding it, we can allow that child to have a policy that will yield to $1 million. Will systematically build that cash for them. And it allows them, in case they become sick, whether they're disabled, we won't ask any question, because I put that on initially when that child was born, of the structure of that policy. We can start a policy as long as you have the Social Security and the age of the child. So it could be a 2-month-old, and if you have that social, we can get to work.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, all right. So yes, go right ahead.
My question is that I would like to get an insurance on myself to make it available to my goddaughter. What is the procedure that I go through to do that?
Thank you. How old is your goddaughter?
She's 17.
All right. So I'm on this one. I'm going to say she would be the beneficiary. She will just not be able to get it to either 18 or 19 if you were to pass away. Okay.
Well, I'm going to pass away, but when?
Yes, I'm saying before then, her age, as far as the beneficiary, she can be on it. I would go ahead and advise you to put her on there as beneficiary, because she's approaching the age that she can control her finances, either 18 or 19, depending on the state.
Okay.
That's what I meant. So she can very well be the beneficiary. I would thank you. I want to go ahead and address something else too. If a client decides that they want to give their grandchild or goddaughter the monies in the event they pass away and they're underage, I really, really encourage you, either if you're going to put that child on there, know that they will not get it to the age that I just stated, if that's okay with you, or put a trust in place and delegate it to the trust for that child. You will be able to contact your lawyer to set that up. We will put that on the insurance and initiate it that way. If you're concerned about that child receiving it before the age of 18 or 19, and delegate, because the trust is going to be able to delegate what you want from the grave and stipulations that you want. Okay.
Thank you.
You'll be able to do that. You're most welcome.
All right. Hi. Anyone else?
Yes. Good morning, Dr. Pickett Mills. My name's Angeline, and I have a question in regards to cash value policies versus term life. So I was once advised, instead of paying a big payment for cash life, do term and then invest the difference in what I'm paying for cash value. Can you talk about that a little bit?
I would love to talk about that. I just had that presented to me. That was one of the biggest hurdles that I had to work through when I first got into the business, because most of the time that's a primary concept. I've heard a lot of them say that buy term and invest the rest, but we ask clients, what are you investing in? And so if you don't know the plan and what you're trying to get to, you're aimless. So the reason why it's important to get cash policies when you're young is because the following. As you and I age, our health is not the same. There are people that want to leave nice legacies, not just to be put in the grave, but they really want to leave a legacy. But if you get term at the age of 20 and it's a 30-year term, you have not revisited your portfolio and your health has changed and you're not the same as 20 years old as you are at 55. That means that cash value policy is going to be more expensive, because as a planner, I will not put my client in a term policy at the age of 60 unless we're about to turn into some wealth accumulation pieces, which you still have to use life insurance as cash value to make sure you're funding it. So we use term policies to cover a debt. If I was not able to return, if I don't make it home tonight, how would my family survive? Oh, we'll put a term policy in place if we want to pay off the house, if we want to fund the education of people, because it's the least expensive way to cover a debt. It is not your whole solution. It's a Band-Aid. It's like you're renting a house into buying it. You rent your house, that's how you pay term. You buy your houses when you invest and you have equity in it. That's where the cash value policy, it has its proper places. It is not good to have everything term because you're going to age and you're going to be paying a larger premium because you're trying to put something that's permanent in place. It has to make sense systematically. If it's not in your budget, get what you can afford. But as I stated, every 6 months to a year, I'm going to inquire you, Miss Angela, what has changed since we last talked? Oh, I got a raise on my job. No problem. Let's do some conversion. We can convert some of that term policy into permanent insurance, allow it to grow, because the reason why some of these institutions that don't promote cash value insurance because they don't sell it. And I'm not going to give you any type of solution that I cannot sell. That's one of the reasons why that some of them don't offer them to you, because they don't have it to provide for you. So therefore, you're going to get a whole life policy, and we'll do it in stages, because I have some people that younger that have taken advantage of just locking it in place at that time. So if they have any type of issues, they can pull from their own money. This is one of the reasons why the Rockefellers have become so successful. They have money because they had whole life policies. They pull from their own money, pay themselves back. You can do it even a sophisticated way of doing supplemental retirement. You have a business, you borrow from your whole life policy and then have your business to pay yourself back your monies. It's ways that some people say, I don't even want to go back to the bank anymore. I'm going to utilize my cash policies to be, and there's sophisticated ways to do that as well. For people that are uninsurable, you use cash value policy. If your body can't handle it, maybe your grandchild can handle it. You're the owner of the policy. Something happens, that child will still have money as they grow, generational. So cash, I advise, please, if you can start off with a term policy, but when you start off with a term policy, that is not your ending. That is just an avenue to get you to something permanent that you can have monies in case that you need to pull and don't have to touch your 401k when an emergency comes, because you know that comes with penalties.
Yeah.
So you do need whole life insurance if that's an avenue, or some permanent insurance in place in your portfolio.
Okay.
Definitely, if you can afford it, but it's a systematic way you approach it. You approach it as your budget allows you to free up to do it. It has to make sense.
Okay. Thank you so much for that.
You're most welcome.
Anyone else? One question, Dr. Mills, when you look at whole life versus term life, which is more expensive?
Whole life is going to be expensive because it's yielding it's cash value. Term is just for if you die. You don't benefit from it. The beneficiaries do.
So the reason the whole life is more expensive is because of the cash you'll be able to receive along the way.
Along the way. And I want to say something too. I did not mention it. Okay, let's talk about it. I talked about understanding your contract before. I am a broker. That means that if a client can't get insured here, I'm going to look at this at New York Life. I'm going to still look for avenues and who can, because my whole position is to make sure my client's taken care of. So I may have to deviate from that. So the reason why I'm saying is that when I talk about knowing your insurance policy from before is that you got two different companies when it comes to whole life policy. Any company that offers whole life, they have two different ways of doing it. One, you could be a non-participating company or a participating company. You've heard of dividends. Dividends are paid through companies such as New York Life, which we have very potent dividends. That builds up your cash value as you pay into it. The dividends are paid into it. And it builds your cash value up and your money's inside of your policy. Not only that, if you start off with a policy, just say $50,000, 10 years, the death benefit has risen up probably by 50 or 60, by 55 or 60, because we're paying dividends. A company that will guarantee you that I don't do any blood work, I'm just going to give it to you. New York Life have that. Yeah, we can, because we're going to allow you, if you pass away within the first day or two and you were truthful on your application, we will pay out. Most time, non-participating companies don't do that. You have a 2-year waiting period. So if you pass away before 2 years, your family's just going to get basically the interest on that money, those premiums that you paid, not the full death benefit. And depending on if it's graded. Okay. 1 year this amount, 2 year this amount, 3 years amount, you get the full amount. Non-participating companies that offer whole life policy can offer you whole life, but they don't pay dividends. No matter how much you pay into that policy, it's going to only be the money that you give them. The death benefit will never rise, but they'll give you whole life. So it's is that company, that's why I said understanding your contract. Sometime a premium may be less and they can give you on a whole life, but it's never going to change on the death benefit. It's never going to rise. It's going to stay $50,000 or whatever the amount that you did. If you got a policy that pays, a company that pays dividend, and there are some out there like New York Life, your money's inclined as well as your money's inclined and your death benefit inclines. So it's another part about knowing it. And you have universal lives out there. Universal life policies are okay too. You can have some in the market that keep up with inflation, build money inside of it, tax deferred. People use it as supplemental retirement. And also you can have it as a hybrid product to allow you to be able to go along with your budget. Sometimes you can decrease the premium, but if you don't fund it the way it can do, the death benefit. So that's a permanent insurance, but it has to make sense for that client. So that's the difference between a non-participating company and a participating company that pays dividends into their policies.
All right. Anyone
else?
I
have one more question. One more question.
Yes, correct.
The question is, I would like to get an insurance and make the church the beneficiary. What procedure do I go through with that?
So basically, when I do your application, I'll put them down as your beneficiary and just say that it's going to be charitable purposes. And I have a way of doing that.
Okay. All right, thank you.
You're most welcome. I want to say something too, because Bishop spoke to me about this. Please, if your church is concerned about building a legacy, and like you just talked about, let me know. I did some work on our district level and also conference level some years back for Bishop Larte, and it was very good. I had some people that really, really moved in some positive directions. But your church can do things for key people in the church. What I mean by that is that say that you get an insurance policy as cash value, and that person, that pastor may be there, or whoever, they can be used as the body. But nevertheless, the monies inside the policy can be used for the church. So you have like even that aspect called key man insurance.
Key man
insurance.
Okay.
It's perfectly, you definitely can do it, that you can have this, a person can switch the bodies in and out and let the money continue to grow. If there are so many different avenues, you can do money such as take a certain amount of money and put it in the market and yield it. If you have money, if you know that your church has certain money sitting up in their account, and it's not moving, consider carving a little bit out of it and doing some different diversification and how it looks, and just be frank where you're at and where you're trying to get to, so the church can be able to be a blessing as well on a different platform, because they're going to have different their portfolio is going to have different levels of planning that will allow them to have the proper ministries in the event when they need it. And also a supplemental retirement for pastors that they may want to give as far as tokens. It's so many different ways to do it.
Beautiful.
May I have your number?
Okay, so yes, let me go ahead and provide it again here.
And while you're providing the number, it sounds like insurance is a very important instrument and a part of life. And but you need money to purchase insurance. What if I do not have a job?
Oh, wow. Okay, so here we go. So if you have someone that wants to fund your insurance policy, you can do that as well. We call it a payer. The payer can pay that policy for that person. The person can own it. They can be the owner of the policy, but it will be on your life. So we can actually do payer, take the payer's information and they can own it, or that person can own their own policy and the person can just be the payer.
What if the person is not in America?
Okay. They need to be in America, but I can check that. I think they need to be in America. But I can make sure about that. I think you asked me that, Bishop. Let me call and let me get back with you on that, okay?
All right.
I'll be glad to do that for you. I think you did, so I apologize for not getting that answer to you before. This is my contact number here, and if you would, for those who are interested in just sketching an assessment with me for right now, you can just put your name in the chat and I will contact you later today to schedule a time that's beneficial for you so we can be able to do an individualized plan for you. Okay, this is my number.
And I would say that it wouldn't hurt you to have this conversation with Dr. Mills. You can always refuse, accept, but it's a good thing. It's a good thing. And I think something else that we are hearing here today that needs to be accentuated, as Dr. McMillan pointed out, just like we have these annual physical for our bodies, it wouldn't hurt us to have an annual physical check-in with our finances, with our financial advisors, because as she heard her say, you know, it's good for them to know if there are changes in what's happening in your life. You know, when you met them, you had, you know, several streams of income, and now, you know, things have changed. But if we are in communication, you know, people with means, it's only because they use the means available to them. And so want to encourage you to make that a part of your portfolio, to check in with your financial advisor, check in with your pastor, check in with your accountant, check in with your lawyer, check in with your therapist, check in with your nutritionist. They're all there to help us live a better life. Any